Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Good Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are rolling along. It's 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company. We've got a great lineup today. At 6:35, our friend Cal Thomas. He'll give us the latest political news. At 7:35, we'll talk to Reagan Reese, White House correspondent at the Daily Caller, about the RFK Jr. drama, trying to take his name off the Virginia ballot, and they won't let him. And at 8:05, we'll talk to Adam Gillette. He's president of Accuracy in Media, on Columbia University's protests on campus. That's a really pretty awful situation there. I'm Julie Gunlock, alongside my good friend Andrew Langer. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey there, Julie.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Listen, it's a Wednesday, so I'm doing good.
At least you know it's Wednesday.
I've
been
do.
thinking the whole time it's, Friday, Sunday, whatever. Anyway, Andrew, the corporate media, the left-wing media, has not totally ignored the Gold Star families. Although they don't care about hearing from the Gold Star families, they've largely ignored them, talking to them, but they are really smearing the Gold Star families, and they really can't stand that this story about Trump at Arlington National Cemetery isn't really sticking. We've had a lot of people defending Trump. Trump himself, has come out and talked about it. The Gold Star families themselves have come out and said, we invited him. We had the photographer. We had permission. This so-called, scuffle that happened at National Cemetery, no real details on that, and a lot of denials about that happening as well. So this is all kind of a mysterious story. Right. But yesterday on CNN, and again, they will not let this go, and they are engaging in smearing of the Gold Star families. On Tapper's show, he had on John McCain. I didn't know. Just like you said, I didn't know John McCain had
another son.
Yes, Jim McCain, who is a veteran, I guess.
Jimmy.
He served.
No. He's active duty. He is
active duty.
He was a Marine. He enlisted in the Marines, and then I don't know what happened in the intervening years. But then he decided to go to OCS, and so now at age, 35, 36 years old, he's now a first lieutenant. Listen, we celebrate him for his service, but also that raises the question, if you are an active duty service member, or even if you're in the reserves, what are you doing going on CNN talking about the election? There's something very, very untoward about that as well.
Yeah, it is. So he was on Jake Tapper's show yesterday and, sort of slamming Trump for going to Arlington National Cemetery, for standing with the Gold Star families and what he said campaigning on this, which Trump did not do. But what is so interesting about this is his own father, John McCain, actually didn't just go there with a photographer, or a photographer was there and took a picture. No. John McCain actually filmed a campaign ad at Arlington National Cemetery. This is not, of course, no one brought this up. Right. Jake Tapper didn't bring this up, and nobody else brought this up, but his own father. And he was forced to actually take that ad down. So I do find it kind of, revolting that he's getting up here on his high horse talking about that when his own father did, frankly, far worse than what they're accusing Trump of doing.
There are so many things that are wrong with this particular story. And I'm not talking about the Gold Star issue. I mean, obviously, there are things that are wrong with Donald Trump being attacked for celebrating the service members who gave their lives and supporting the families who lost their loved ones in this. But this issue of trotting out John McCain, and I get it, there is great antipathy between the McCain clan and the Trump clan. And again, not to sully the reputation of the late, great senator, but anybody who knew him knew that if you got on John McCain's bad side in Washington, D.C., you were in for a rough ride. The man could hold a grudge. Clearly, his family holds a grudge in the same way. Can we listen to what Jimmy McCain and Jake Tapper had to say to one another?
Yeah, let's listen.
Yeah, let's listen to cut number one.
Why the switch, and how much of you moving not into the Republican Party, but starting as an independent and now moving to the Democratic Party, how much of that is because of Trump and his effect on the Republican Party and his attitude towards veterans?
I mean, to begin, what Trump said about my father is, irrehensible. I mean, it's
irrehensible there.
I've never forgotten it.
Julie.
And, to remind everyone, John McCain was my father as well.
Hold on, full stop. Now we know why he is a 35, 36-year-old first lieutenant in the Army. I'm sorry, but that I just can't after that. By the way, that's the transition. You first you're a Republican, then you go independent, and then eventually you show your colors and you're a Democrat. We know why.
Well, he is, and that's the thing. That's what Tapper suggests, that, this is some big shocker that this guy's coming out for Kamala Harris. No. This is not a shock. He's a Democrat.
Right.
And he's being, frankly, used by CNN and by Tapper to slam the Gold Star families and to slam Trump.
It's interesting because I've talked about this here on this show, how Veep, the TV show, HBO's Veep, is to me the most accurate portrayal of what happens in Washington, D.C. in terms of the sort of internal personality disputes they have, and how so much of what happens in Washington is driven by these petty personal differences. Right, I agree. We are well beyond the time where there were statesmen in Washington, D.C., where there was a time when folks could look past that. But now folks get so wrapped around their own petty personal differences with other people, and it has this effect in our politics. I get it. Your dad didn't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't like your dad. There's not some greater political statement to be made here.
Yeah, and maybe put your personal feelings aside,
right?
To help Americans who are suffering and who will continue to suffer under Harris-Walz administration. I will say, someone on Twitter did point out, Cindy McCain got a plum ambassadorship when she came out for Biden, when she endorsed Biden, and she was rewarded heartily. I don't know. Right. I don't want to suggest anything here, but you're sitting here, or you're saying that it's petty differences or grudges. Well, maybe someone's trying to get another plum ambassadorship.
Well, you see, it's so funny because I look at it as though she got rewarded for this, down the road because she did this, but it was driven by these personal motivations that were out there, and that's just it. If you think about it, think about the first sort of never Trump Republicans who were there, the most vociferous ones. It had nothing to do with Trump and Trump's policies. I mean, I get it. Some of them are the free traders and they don't like Trump's protectionism. We've talked to Steve Moore about this. But the reality is, for the vast majority of them, Trump offended them at an elemental level. They didn't like the guy for whatever reason. And I look at, I look at Michael Steele. Michael Steele and Donald Trump, at least at one point in time, agreed on, let's say, 80% of the policy issues that were out there. But for Steele, he didn't like Donald Trump personally, so he's going to go down this other road. And I think that's true for most of these guys, Julie.
Yeah, and again, I respect that some people do not like Trump, and this family has made that very clear. The real villain here, though, because look, Jim McCain can say anything he wants, so he can have but it's Jake Tapper, who has not spoken to those Gold Star families. I know, has not spoken to those Gold Star families, not spent a minute considering their positions, but he continues to have guests on that slam Trump and by extension slam these Gold Star families. That is what's really shameful. Look, we will talk more about this, but for now it is 6:15. Andrew, you are absolutely giddy reading that
the weather?
The weather.
Oh, my God, listen,
I know.
It's the humidity is breaking. That's the thing. I mean, I know it's cliche, but it's not the heat, it's the humidity. It is the humidity. I mean, D.C., remember the line from the movie Quiz Show? Yes, the pop culture reference of the day. It's a show that traded, we're a swamp that traded mosquitoes for air conditioning. So that's what we are. Yeah,
well, anyway, I am giddy right along with you, but let's keep going on this this Jim McCain decrying Trump's appearance, Jimmy. At Arlington. It has been nonstop coverage of this issue, and again, I think part of the reason for that is because the sort of story that's been put out by Arlington. It's not really sticking with the American public, and these Gold Star families are coming out fiercely in defense of Trump. They invited him. They invited the photographer. There are emails that exist. Tulsi Gabbard was really thoughtful on this yesterday. She was there. She was there the whole time. She said that there are emails between the campaign and Arlington National Cemetery showing that they had permission to have a photographer there. If these families want to do cartwheels in the middle of they can do whatever they want. And suddenly we have Tapper, who has made quite a lot of money talking about Gold Star families, engaging in this really PR for Harris Walz. This is campaign activity.
Well, it underscores this obsession that the media, the leftist media, seems to have with John McCain. Now, let's just remember that when John McCain ran for president in 2008 against Barack Obama, this same media was breathlessly repeating every kind of rumor and innuendo about John McCain's life. But John McCain loses the election in 2008 in spectacular sort of flame out to Barack Obama. And then he goes after Trump. Go ahead, Julie.
No, keep going. I'll do it after.
Yeah. So, but my point is, and so sort of every time we turn around, John McCain. They trot out John McCain. Yeah. Again, you can't have it both ways. We know the media does that. They applaud somebody. Same thing with Mitt Romney, right? Mitt Romney. They were all too willing to call him a racist, a sexist, a guy who abused his pet. And literally, they accused him of that. But because he went anti-Trump, they applaud him.
I want to just play this cut. This
Please.
shows just how giddy CNN is about, like you mentioned this sort of obsession with the McCain family, but showing the giddiness of this Jimmy McCain making this announcement. Michael, if we can play cut 4.
He is the first member of the McCain family to actually publicly break with the Republican Party itself. Yes, other members of his family, including his mother, have broken with Trump himself publicly, including his sister Meghan. But he says that he is now going to be voting for Kamala Harris in November. He has changed his registration to Democrat, which is a really significant move, of course, for someone who is the son of such a prominent, GOP senator. He was a GOP political candidate. So this is a big dramatic move for Jimmy McCain. And I should note, it remains to be seen how the rest of his family is going to react to this, because his sister, Meghan McCain, she has indicated that she is not going to endorse Kamala Harris. And she said, quote, in a tweet last week, "I am a lifelong generational conservative." She says, "Please stop trying to turn me into a progressive. It's a fever dream." Jimmy McCain now says he is willing to do whatever it takes, whatever he can, to actually help the Harris Walz campaign this November.
So not just voting, potentially campaigning
potentially even get involved.
Fascinating.
It's not just the response that Meghan McCain had there where she says, "Please stop trying to turn me into a progressive." She said this on Twitter. It's a fever dream. It's I don't know who Charlotte Harper is, who tweeted at her. I tweeted this statement: "I wish you could understand how impactful it would be if you and your incredible mom would publicly endorse Harris Walz, because this time it's different and it's the right thing to do." All right, I don't think Cindy McCain is all that incredible. So, sort of blowing smoke that way. But I'm also not sure exactly how impactful it would be, except for a very small group of folks in the media who would then sort of breathlessly report this. But yeah, guys, Meghan McCain, I think still has me blocked on X, but
Yeah, look, this is the thing. Again, I want to bring it back to the fact it is absolutely revolting that Tapper is spending time on this issue when he hasn't talked to the Gold Star families, when Kamala Harris hasn't talked to the Gold Star families, when Tim Walz turns his back when asked about this. This is the real problem. And these attempts to pivot to Trump going and bring a photographer, I mean, first of all, again, this is smearing those families, and it should sicken anyone. I mean, again, Tapper has written books about Gold Star family. He's written, his story about what happened in Afghanistan, his book, What Happened in Afghanistan. It's incredible. And to see him doing this, ignoring why these Gold Star families are there in the first place. What they did in Afghanistan, that incredibly sloppy pullout, and that cost us 13 lives. I'm very exercised about this, I know, but it is very upsetting to see how they're abusing those families. Anyway, we'll cover more of this. We're a little late on the clock here. It's 6:23.
Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Had a moment of panic there where I thought I lost the station feed in my ear. Good morning, everybody. It is 6:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. A good Wednesday morning to all of you. Listen, we got all kinds of great things coming up on the show. Going to be joined in the next hour by Reagan Reese from the Daily Caller. She's their White House correspondent. Obviously, we still have a White House. Oh, and I got to talk to her about Karine Jean-Pierre and her back and forth yesterday with Peter Doocy. Peter Doocy, by the way, asked her about that accent change. Karine Jean-Pierre claims not to know what he's talking about, but we want to talk to her about RFK Jr. and where his name's on the ballot, where his name's not on the ballot, what's going on there. We've got Adam Gillette in the 8 a.m. hour. He's the president of Accuracy in Media to talk about the various campus protests, including those at Columbia. I'm Andrew Langer. This is O'Connor and Company. I'm sitting in for Larry O'Connor this week alongside Julie Gunlock. And we're talking right now with Cal Thomas, syndicated columnist. Cal, you're enjoying the city of Bridges right now, I understand?
Yes, Andrew. And I'm here in Budapest where there are no illegal immigrants. The streets are clean. The sidewalks are walkable. There are no illegals committing crimes, unlike New York, Chicago, Denver, or Los Angeles. That's because the Prime Minister Orban some time ago closed the border and no immigrants are allowed here. Not illegal ones anyway. It's really an amazing city.
Wait. So it's fascinating how this happens. We actually, when you reassert your nation's sovereignty and you say, you know something, we're actually going to control who comes in. There are positive changes in the society, aren't there?
Well, absolutely. I mean, no nation can survive if it doesn't control its borders.
Right.
And as has been said many times, we welcome legal immigrants who obey the law and come the right way. We want them. We need them. We are a nation of immigrants. But, this administration is not even enforcing the laws. I mean, Kamala Harris says she's going to do something about the border. Well, she's had almost 4 years to do something, and she's done nothing, which I guess is something the way she defines things.
Yes. Hearsay is kind of evidence, Cal. Yes, I get where you're going at it this year. But, and then to top it all off, right, it's the incentivization, right? I mean, California offering $150,000, up to $150,000 in housing costs. I mean, this is a form of insanity, is it not?
Well, it is. I mean, if you tell people they're going to get free food, free debit cards, free hotels, free education, and free health care, what's not to like about that? It's
right.
like leaving a saucer of milk out for a stray cat. You're going to get more stray cats. You just can't go on like this. No nation can preserve itself unless it controls its borders. But, the left wants more and more people in here because future voters are Democrats.
Now, Cal, listen, I want to talk to you about the political landscape with the election, but I want to start here because we still have a president of the United States, at least nominally we do. He was on vacation for, 16 days, and he returns from the White House and immediately starts taking pot shots at Benjamin Netanyahu, which, by the way, Karine Jean-Pierre couldn't explain. She was asked about this yesterday as well. She had no explanation for it. What do you make of Biden landing on the White House grounds and immediately saying that Bibi hasn't done enough?
Well, I've got a column coming on this tomorrow, and, with friends like him, who needs enemies?
Right.
I mean, imagine dictating to another country that attacked, and that is the target of attacks, and that the Hamas charter calls for the establishment of an Islamic Palestinian state, the elimination of Israel. Now, what's to negotiate with that? Netanyahu is doing the right thing, trying to wipe out Hamas so they don't grow back. Same with Hezbollah. I mean, these are people who want to destroy the Jewish state. And, of course, the mullahs in Iran are encouraging the protesters at Columbia and other universities, and they're just playing into the hands of the terrorists, people who shout from the river to the sea, have no clue what river and what sea they're talking about.
Right. So listen, speaking of which, we do have an election going on. Obviously, the Dems, for whatever reason, had a Democratic National Convention. I'm still not sure why. They obviously, we had a sugar rush going into this for the Democrats, but they got no post bounce. What do you make of all this?
Well, nobody knows what Kamala Harris believes. Her webpage doesn't have anything. The only thing we are certain of about her is that she favors abortion. Abortion, 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 right up to the moment of delivery. And if you're like former Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, if the woman changes her mind after giving birth, you just set the baby aside and let the kid die. So this is your Democrat Party. The second thing she's for is, spending more money, $6 trillion and price controls. Anybody who has any knowledge of economics at all or history know that price controls don't work. Richard Nixon tried them and he abandoned them in a hurry. You can't do that. And this $25,000 down payment for first-time home buyers, that's just going to drive the price of a house up $25,000. And these people have no clue. They've never worked in the private sector. They've never created a business. They've never done a balance sheet. They're all government all the time. It's all they know. And at least Donald Trump has a business background. And, whatever his faults and failures during his administration, a whole lot better than Kamala Harris promises she'll do, and certainly than Joe Biden has done.
Hey, Cal, before we let you go, you got a new book out back in May, A Watchman in the Night. What's been the reaction? Where can folks find it? Tell us a little bit.
Well, how nice. Well, I've been at this business of column writing for 40 years, and I thought it would be good to take a look back. And it's not a column collection, but it's a look back at the years that I've been writing, over 4,000 columns starting in 1984, and what happened during those years and some of the things I said about them. One of the things that is amazing is that human nature never changes. You can change the political leadership, you can change a lot of other things, but human nature doesn't change. And when you go back and look at some of the things that especially Democrats have said, beginning with Franklin Roosevelt attacking corporations, rich people, fair share in taxes, and all this other stuff, that's been going on for 70 years. People need to realize they're being flim-flammed with this kind of stuff.
Hear, hear. Well, listen, Cal, thank you so very much for joining us today. Enjoy Europe, and we look forward to talking to you when you get back.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Take care. That's Cal Thomas. You can find him online at Cal Thomas on Twitter. Check out his book, A Watchman in the Night. We got more coming up. It's 6:44 here on WMAL.
Weeknights with Mark Levin, 6 to 9 p.m.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Well, hey there, everybody. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor. Let me set the Wayback Machine to yesterday. In yesterday's show, we were talking about this very strange speech that Kamala Harris gave when she was in Detroit, Detroit Rock City. Here she is. Let's go ahead and play cut number 6 there, Michael.
You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
You know something? By the way, there's a falsehood in there, as was pointed out to me yesterday on social media. By the way, you don't have the unions to thank for the 5-day work week. You have Henry Ford to thank for the 5-day work week. Literally took it upon himself to go down this road. And then in the same way that Kamala Harris steals her policy positions from an entrepreneur capitalist like Donald Trump, the unions then turned around and stole that idea from Henry Ford here. Let's go down. Also talking about hard work. Also back in August using this accent. Let's play cut number 7.
You know, the one thing about all of us is we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is good work.
Now,
the thing that we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work.
Yeah, I made this, because a lot of folks are saying, "Boy, that accent! It's like Foghorn Leghorn from the Warner Brothers cartoons." I say. But no, that it hit me in a very, very different way yesterday as I'm sort of listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, she is channeling Gil Hill, who's an actor, a former cop who happened to play Inspector Todd in Beverly Hills Cop and Beverly Hills Cop 2.
What the hell you need $1,000 for?
Little flash money?
Flash money? Well, let's see here. $2,000 for a suit, $200 for a tie, a requisition order for a Ferrari. I don't want to see any more of these blue slips.
Yeah, so that's where that was going. Now, obviously, this is jarring, and there are other clips out there showing her talking, giving the same speeches in places like Pittsburgh, where the accent is clearly not there. And I get it, politicians put on accents. It's distasteful as it is. Well, Peter Doocy asked Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, about this yesterday, and she threw up her hands, basically. Metaphorically speaking. Let's play cut number 10.
Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a southern accent?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is...
She was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that
same
you think...
line.
Okay, Peter.
That she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that you're... I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care... You know what they care about? They care about the economy. They care about lowering costs. They care about health care. That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something.
Yeah, Americans care about those things, but they also care about the genuineness of their candidates, and their candidates who aren't trying to snow them on things and aren't trying to be people that they're not. We want some kind of honesty that's out there with this. I mean, it is amazing to me that sort of Karine Jean-Pierre can go, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, no. I mean, if Donald Trump put on a Southern accent, this would be a problem. In fact, it's funny. Jesse Waters read a text from a viewer suggesting that Peter Doocy should ask his questions in a Southern accent. Let's go ahead and play cut number 11 there.
Nick from Salt Lake City, Utah. Peter Doocy should ask his first question tomorrow with a Southern accent. I like that.
Right. I mean, in the end, it is, there is a certain genuineness to this. Listen, we're going to talk about this with Reagan Reese, who I think may very well have been in the room when this happened yesterday. She's going to join us at 7:35 a.m. Right now it's 6:53.